Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics with Guy Vance.
I gave up my humanity for Christmas.
God, Chris.
You didn't free yourself with your belt buckle after all.
And I'm Kia. Hi, welcome to the show. Today, big day. We're reading some time travel, Fantastic Four comics. We're finishing up Knightfall here. We're on chapter 19 in Batman 500. We got two new reads coming up next week. Oh my goodness. So much happening here. But first off, Fantastic Four. We kind of lied to you last episode. We said we were doing issues 350 through 352, which is a story written and drawn by Walt Simonson with some time travel shenanigans here. It turns out 351, right in the middle of that, is just a fill-in issue by somebody else. Wasn't even in my Walt Simonson trade here. So we're just reading 350 and 352, and Chris read a few of the other issues in the trade that we had as well here. Anything worth pointing out there, Chris?
Well, it's great. This is the famous appearance of the new Fantastic Four, which was on the cover, which was Ghost Rider, the Hulk, Spider-Man, and Wolverine, which is like, this is, it's what, 1991 or so. Mm-hmm. This is like fully parodying like the state of comics in the 90s, where it's just like, hey, here's just four cool characters. They're the Fantastic Four.
The cover even says featuring the world's most exploitative cameo. But it doesn't show their face. It just shows a Punisher logo on a shirt. Who could it be?
Yes.
Who could it be?
Yes, it could be anyone. So it's a very fun story. It's very silly. Like, it's basically, the premise is that a Skrull person wants this egg that is the Mole Man has. And mind controls readers into trying to find it. She also she telepathically suggests that the new Fantastic Four form and avenge the deaths of the real Fantastic Four. So they're ready to kill the Mole Man for her. But it turns out it's all a feint. She's the real villain. The Hulk gets in a big battle with a bunch of mole people. The Ghost Rider uses his pen and stare on like 1,000 mole people, which is great. It's very silly, like fun stuff. But yeah, it's very light, kind of leading into 350 and 352. And 351, by the way, it is a fill-in issue, but a fill-in issue by an unknown named Mark Bagley. I hope that guy has a strong career in front of him. This is 1991, so he's done like 2 issues of New Warriors, I think, and nothing else.
That guy's the ultimate artist.
Yeah, this is before Spider-Man, before Ultimate Spider-Man, and everything else.
Great. Well, like we said, that doesn't actually have a lot to do with the story that we're reading there, but it's nice to get some context for where Fantastic Four have been. There's no new Fantastic Four. I mean, there's some new stuff happening here that Dr. Doom will find out for us about. Yeah. But let's just jump into 350 now. Doom has not been at his castle in Latveria. He's got some dude named Kristoff there, kind of who's taken over, or he works for Doom.
I feel like he staged a coup. Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like at first, until Doom shows up, and this Kristoff guy's wearing a Doom mask too. And is like Doom says a code word and shows his real face, or was that to a Doom bot? Everyone is wearing the same Dr. Doom mask, so it's hard to tell who's who.
It was to Kristoff. So Kristoff was introduced in the John Byrne run. He was going to be Doom's successor when Doom was presumed dead, I think during Secret Wars, but it was somewhere around there. Then Kristoff, there's like a coded phrase activation where even though he's like 8 years old, he was like automatically, like his brain was made into an adult and he became like a Doom junior. So yeah, the idea is that there's a like safe word that like fixes it so that he won't be Doom anymore.
Great. So Doom is there. He takes back control of his castle, and then he uses his monitors to peek in on the Fantastic Four, see what's going on there. He says Reed and Sue are the same as ever, barely aged a day. The Thing has reverted back to human form at this point. Okay. Johnny Storm is married to Alicia Masters, Ben's former blind girlfriend. I think she's still gone. Yeah. And Sharon Ventura, who used to be a Miss Marvel at one point, is now a Thing. She's gotten all gamma radiated and turned into the Thing here. Who is Sharon Ventura? How did she get? I guess she was Miss Marvel. I assume that's how she linked up
Yes.
with the Fantastic Four. I guess that's all you need to know. Yeah.
Yeah, she was on. God, who was the Steve Englehart? I think Fantastic Four run introduced her at Ms. Marvel. I think was busy being binary and with the X-Men, so she became Ms. Marvel too. Then she got exposed to the same radiation that made Ben the Thing. Then Ben got cured, and also Johnny fell in love with Alicia Masters. So a lot of stuff has happened in the last 50 issues that the writer is sort of saying like, well, we're getting rid of a bunch of this.
Yeah, a lot of stuff seems to change
Yeah.
by the end of these couple issues here.
It looks like she first appeared in a Thing issue in 1986.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
1986, Thing number 35.
Yeah, it's the Englehart post 300 Fantastic Four run that by the end takes his name off of because there's so much editorial interference that she becomes like a major member.
I recognize her costume so much, and I don't know where I read her. She wears like she's dressed like she looks like the Thing, except she's wearing like a full body like unitard, and it's kind of got like an M in white written on it, and I recognize it from somewhere.
It's very similar to because Ben has like a robotic version of his own Rocky thing, so it's very similar to what I forget her name in Future Foundation wore.
There was a girl with
Steve
pink hair.
Allred.
There was a girl with pink hair that had she had her pink hair, but then like a Thing bodysuit around her, except for her pretty girl head face coming out.
Yes, and I think she wore a bodysuit like this.
Yeah. We got a lot of bodysuits coming up here. I instantly led to some confusion from me because we jumped to the Baxter building, and the Thing, who I thought, is this Miss Thing? Is this we call her Miss Thing, Little Miss Thing? But it's not Little Miss Thing. It's the real Miss Thing.
She's She Thing.
Got it. She Thing. But real He Thing is sitting there reading in the papers about Doom being back in control in Latveria.
And he's reading what I'm hoping says Pistons Pound Nix. I just see Piston Pound Ix.
Who knows?
Yeah, this is the the year before would have been because this no, I guess this is the first Bulls year.
The Bulls are about to win. Jordan's about to win his first championship like in a month because this is like May '91, I think.
Yeah, so this is I guess the Pistons are about they're the reigning champions and about to be dethroned.
Need that lore. Need that.
You
need that lore.
Comic book
that's what I'm here for, to tell you who won the NBA championship in 1991.
So at this point, I'm still wondering which Thing is this. But then Sue comes in and attacks him for not being housebroken, I guess. And we find out he's wearing his Thing suit while he's sitting around. Sharon enters as Miss Thing and tells him to take it off because he looks ridiculous. She's really struggling with having turned into the Thing. She asks Reed if he's figured out a way to change her back permanently. And Reed's like, I'm working hard, but you got to be careful with this because I can't even promise that Ben is permanently human now. And Sharon's just angry. She was like storming out, like, if you can't do it, someone else can.
I feel like there's a lot going on here. Like, one, didn't all the Fantastic Four hit the same exact radiation? So how did she get the Thing radiation when no one else did? That seems kind of fishy to me. And and then Reed was able to, like, because it's been 30 years of Marvel continuity at this point. Reed always says he's going to cure Ben, and then he never does because he can't fucking figure it out. So I feel like
this is the second time he's done it. So he did it in the 70s too.
And I guess he just did it, but then he's like, "You won't give it to me." Is that her beef? Because like I would be like resigned to like a fucking course. Like, I mean, like he's been promising this for years, and then Ben is being like, "I'll dress up like you because that will make you feel more comfortable." Like that doesn't. I don't know what his train of thought was there. Like
there's more problems with his train of thought later here. So she's walking around afterwards, monologuing about being upset, and she's approached by someone who says, "Hey, I can take you to somebody who can help if you let me drive you over there." And she's like, "All right, fine, whatever."
She follows a man to his hotel room. This girl has no sense of danger.
There's again more of that to come. But she meets Dr. Doom in his hotel room. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to cure you. I'm going to turn you back into a human. All I want is money." And she's like, "Well, hold on. I don't know how I can get your money." It's like, No. I'm going to use my curing of you to gain knowledge, and that's going to make money for Latveria, so it won't cost you any money. So why did you lead with money? Come on, man. We do find out later why he led with money, because Then back at the Baxter building, Reed and Sue are running some tests on their son Franklin. They're trying to find out what his powers are. Do they know he's a mutant at this point? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, they do. And he, they're like, "Oh, you did a great job. Let's go take you to get an egg cream." And he's like, No. I want a chocolate shake. I don't like egg creams. And they're like, "Oh my God, that's sacrilege for New York. What are you doing, kid?"
What's an egg cream?
An egg cream is like a kind of milkshake that uses egg in it somehow.
Oh, okay. It's not like a Cadbury cream egg kind of thing. Okay.
No.
No, yeah. I think it's like a vanilla milkshake that has egg in it for some reason.
Yeah. Then the Thing comes in to say, like, "Hey, Sharon hasn't come back yet." He's a little bit worried. And we find out that she has gone to Latveria with Dr. Doom. Didn't even leave a note. Come on. It's one thing to get in a car with a stranger. The second thing to go back to his hotel room. But to go to Latveria with Dr. Doom is not a wise decision. I mean,
it's a quick flight.
I feel like, it clearly is a quick flight. We're about to learn. But, like, I feel like that's probably the safest decision. The getting in the car with somebody, that was probably the worst one. And then going to their hotel room after that, I mean, you're already in for a penny, in for a pound. But still, like, and now she's like, "Okay, I know who this is at least. It's Dr. Doom. We're probably going to go to Latveria." I feel like that was probably the smartest. Like, that was the least.
You think so?
Okay.
I disagree.
Okay. Listeners, vote in.
Respectfully.
Come on the YouTube, where all my friends are right here.com, and vote in. What do you think was the worst decision that Miss Thing or She Thing made in this issue? Let us know.
So Kristoff, he does some tests on her and like turns her back to human, but she's still kind of passed out. Kristoff comes in and they talk, and he's like, "Whoa, Doom, you did it. You're smarter than Reed Richards." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "But why'd you tell her about all that money? That's not like part of your plan." He's like, "Yeah, I had to make her believe I had some kind of bad motive, but I got other plans." All right, cool.
Yeah, I couldn't just say revenge on the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. So
she might
Ben's
be into it. She's pissed off at Reed, and Ben's being dumb.
Yeah,
she might be into
it. So Ben still feels bad about Sharon. He goes to the lab and he starts putting together some device. And everyone else in the Baxter building is playing cards, and they hear an explosion in the lab, so they head in there. And Ben, in an effort to make Sharon feel better, she's not even there. In an effort to make her feel better, got in the little pod and gamma radiated himself, so he turned back into the Thing.
Yep.
Because he didn't want Sharon to be alone as a Thing.
And it perfectly mutated him back into the Thing.
Well, it didn't, as we find out.
Well, at first, yeah. It's a slow process, but it's a real gift of the Magi situation. Is that what's it called? Is that what it's called?
That's right.
Yeah, real gift of the Magi situation where he turns back into the Thing, right as she turns back human.
Oh yeah, or that one where she cuts off her hair to buy a comb, and he buys her a comb for her pretty hair. Is that also?
Wait, she doesn't cut off her hair to buy a comb. She cuts off her hair to buy something for him that he.
Oh, that's right. And then he buys her a comb.
She doesn't have no hair no more.
Yeah.
Because she's a Thing. She's made of rock.
Yeah.
How ironic. So they're all like, "Oh, we should have realized what you were doing, Ben. That's so sweet." Oh, and then
I would like to see Alicia come in and be like, "What the fuck?"
This is all fucked up. So then Dr. Doom sends a message. It's not a video message. It's not a phone call. It's not a letter. He sends a robot into the Baxter building who shows up and says, "Hey, we got Sharon in Latveria. She's okay for the next 4 hours. You better get over there fast."
Well, the robot sends a mixed messaging. He comes in and he says, "Dr. Doom requests your attendance at your earliest convenience, but I will murder your friend in 4 hours. So, make a decision fast."
Yeah, you gotta get going.
And he also mentions, the defeat at the Baxter building, which was issue 42 or something. That was pre-Galactus, pre-stealing Silver Surfer's power, all of that. And Ben is like, "That was like 1,000,000 years ago. You're still mad about that?"
So they all fly over to the Baxter building. Wait. Sorry, go ahead.
So has Kristoff been Dr. Doom in continuity since it said like Fantastic Four 278, so like 80 issues, or like what is that?
Well,
6 or 7 years.
Doom's been missing for that long in the Fantastic Four book. He has appeared in some other stuff like Infinity Gauntlet and Secret Wars and different things.
Okay.
But yeah, he hasn't been. He tried to kill them all in, I think it was 250, and then he got killed in that storyline. And I don't think they brought him back for a really, really long time.
Really? So he's been gone like 8 or 9 years. That's insane. Okay.
Interesting.
From Fantastic Four, again, he's appeared in other books. And then the other thing is that this is implying that other appearances of Doom have been a Doom bot for the past like 20 years or whatever.
That was one of my favorite comics. I think it comes a little later when Ben's like, "So you're a robot?" He's like, "Who could tell? Who will never know?" And I like that's a really great way to like paper over continuity. Like you'll never know. I'm not gonna tell you.
Yeah, I mean that's John Byrne did it back in. There's an issue where, sorry, not to derail the whole thing. We're only covering 2 issues, but there's an issue where Doctor Doom teams up with Arcade, and Arcade lights a cigar on Doom's armor, and then John Byrne's Fantastic Four. He's like, Doombot number 304, how come there's a smudge here on your armor? He's like, that's where Arcade lit his cigar on me. And he's like, and how did you murder him for his insolence? He's like, well, I thought I would let him live. And they're like, you failure of a Doombot, and killed him.
Cute. All right, so back to this story here. The Fantastic Four fly over to Latveria. How long does it take them? They have 4 hours.
Less than 4
less
hours.
than 4.
Takes them 3 hours and 15 minutes, is according to the caption, which is a pretty quick flight, I think, for Latveria. And, it's a pretty clear trap over there. They got Doombots running at them. And then there's like 4 corridors, and Reed's like, he's forcing us to split up and go through individual trials or something like that. Okay, cool. Nice of you to just to split up for him and not go down one path, but okay. I don't know how they picked the right ones, because they each picked the room that was perfectly tailored for them.
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
Johnny, I think it probably moved the rooms around based off of who went through which one.
Yeah.
Oh, can he do that? Does he have that technology? He might.
Yeah, it's like one of those like mazes or whatever where it's leading you. There's 2 doors, and it's like one door is locked, and you have to go down the way that's leading you towards the Johnny Storm room.
Okay, something like that. It's worth noting Johnny and Sue don't matter in this story at all. They are pretty quickly kind of beaten and knocked out.
Johnny Storm goes down the water room. Oops.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Whoops.
Reed has to, I really like the Reed room though. He has to fit, he's walking through a tunnel, and he's like, oh, this tunnel's getting smaller and smaller until the point where it's super thin, and he just has to stretch his arms out to crawl through. And then he hits a dead end, and he's like, oh, and the doors are closed behind me. I'm stuck in a tiny little room. Cool.
I do love the panel layout for this.
It's a really good panel layout.
Yeah, I complain all the time about modern comics not taking advantage of the form. That's how you do it. Yeah. He has a power that makes him 2-dimensional. Make the panels like this.
Yeah, the panels are shrinking and getting smaller and wider as he's stretching out. It's really cool.
Yeah.
The Things room leads straight to Sharon. Hooray! Well, he really kind of busts through a wall and gets to Sharon.
I like that Doom's plan. Yeah, Doom's 3 schemes and 1. I don't know.
Yeah, just let him bust through a wall here. But Doom attacks him. They fight for a bit. Doom shoots a laser, but it feeds energy into Ben, and Ben keeps transforming a little bit more. He kind of turns rockier, he's almost got little rock eggs growing out all over him, or scales or something. He looks awkward.
I don't like this design. Get out of here.
It's I like it for something weird and temporary that is still evoking the regular thing, but is clearly wrong, and it feels wrong, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
I like it, but I don't like it. I like it because I don't like it, if that makes sense. So then Reed also shows up. He was able to get out of that room with his belt buckle, he said.
Or was he?
And Doom reveals his real plan for all this. He says, Reed, I made us both some little time travel devices. I'm going to give you one, and we're going to do a time duel. Cool? And Reed's like, okay, I accept. And that was the plan. Cool.
Hell yeah.
Which, oh, Doom, you could just beat him. You didn't have to make him one,
No.
Yeah.
Gotta show them that he's better. It's I'm inviting you to my house to challenge you to my video game.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
It's well, you could have played against the computer. Well, I haven't. Okay, I haven't. I don't have an advantage.
And that's the cliffhanger there. So we're gonna, like we said, 351 is a filler issue, so we're going straight
I do
into.
like how much it's like this is gonna be so important. It's not coming in next month.
Deal with it. It's like we need an extra month to write it because it's gonna be so big.
Yeah.
But this whole issue, it starts with a tiny little recap. It starts with a little bit of Doom and Reed kind of fighting. Reed pretty quickly figures out how to use this device, and they're like jumping back and forth like seconds and minutes in time to catch each other and outsmart each other there. And Ben is there. He's maybe trying to get involved, but they just kind of disappear with time. And then the whole rest of the issue is kind of told in two parts. There is like the main issue, but then there's this little black and white kind of vertical overlay across the right side where we just see Reed and Doom doing their time thing the whole time, which is, kind of its own thing. And I don't really know what to say about it. It's very like time stuff. Chris had mentioned in the last issue that it's important to read it like you'll have to kind of read it backwards to see that part. But it all felt, I don't know. Vince, what were you going to say about it?
I like the comic form when it's like able to do like two things at once in time differently. So like half the page is like going forward in linear time of like Ben and as he unlocks the Fantastic Four, very Ninja Turtle style. Mm-hmm. But it's like going forward like that. Like he's going forward and there's timestamps for that. It'll be like 103, then 107, blah, 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 blah. And then the Reed and Dr. Doom fight is going on like just like throughout time. It's also going linear for them, but it'll be like 112, then 102, then 107, then 117. And they kind of carry over every now and then into Ben's frames. It's cool. I don't know how well it totally works for me. But to your point in last episode, Chris said like you need to read it twice to kind of get what's going on. And I feel like if it reads a little better on the second time to be like, oh, okay, I see how like it's carrying over. I think it's cute and novel. I don't know how well it works for me though.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it here. I can tell what's going on. There wasn't enough. Like I took very little notes on that black and white stuff because there wasn't anything particularly interesting other than time fight, time words, we're doing time, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it felt very disconnected from everything else on
Chris
purpose. Of course, it is disconnected.
I know. I feel like you're missing kind of the whole story.
I feel like I got the story. It's there. They're doing time stuff and they shifted and they, it makes sense to me. But it
did you get the cover part then? Or even my quote that I mentioned at the beginning? All of that makes sense?
Maybe it didn't. Maybe I stopped reading the panels after a little while.
This is the world's most confusing comic magazine, is what the cover says.
That's what it said. That's
So, at the end of 350, Reed says like, "Oh, I just used my belt buckle to create a spark to get myself out of this, the long room you trapped me in." Mm-hmm. But then, as we're going, Doom blasts Reed with his, because first Reed like teleports somewhere else to like get familiarization with what he's doing. And then he deflects it. Doom's like, you can't use this as an offensive weapon. And he's like, fine. So then he shoots it at him, and it goes into the past. And Doom's like, what did you just do? Did you just like shoot that blast in? You just freed yourself. And then, so the cover is 30 minutes before the beginning of the issue. Oh. And it's after Reed has freed himself through a time loop to get himself out to fight Doom in the first place. And that's after that happens, that's when the TVA gets involved and they're like, what's going on here? Like something.
That's cool. I totally missed that. That's really cool.
It's cool. I feel like there's better ways to get that across though. And
I mean, that's why I said you have to read it more than once, because you didn't get it.
I didn't know I had to read the other issue.
Yeah, that I messed up on. I was trying to read this.
All right,
but you don't have to read the other issue because it is in. I mean, it's in the text of this one. As Doom is like, you didn't use your belt buckle at all. Like you just did it with this energy.
So I didn't even have to read it backwards. I could have read it forwards.
But you wouldn't understand what happened. And again,
I skipped too many of the words because they started feeling too generic, and I was just like, all right, cool, black and white.
You didn't fill yourself with my trap from your belt buckle.
Yeah,
right.
Star.
That's fair. That's
last
fair.
issue.
That's
fair. Travelers in Time.
Yes, and that's why TVA gets involved, because they're like, wait a minute. So he got free because his future self freed him in the past. That's not how time travel works in the Marvel universe. You can't do that.
See, I was expecting the black and white parts to be difficult to read, but ultimately I found them uninteresting to read. So I really did just start like, oh, all right, kind of going through them. Like, all right, I kind of have lost interest in this portion of the fight because it is so segmented from everything else that's going on, and it didn't
But
feel
that's
like
because
it.
that's because you're reading it in out of order, and you're like, yeah, this is just fight, fight, fight. It doesn't make sense. But like there is a lot more story to it than that. It's just
Fair.
it's not in linear order. You have to figure out how the time jumps are working. But anyway, that's why I think this issue is great.
Would it be easier to just read like the whole like Doom and read column, like without having to like switch your brain between what's happening on with like
No, like
the
I said,
thing
I
stuff?
didn't find it
Yes.
difficult to read. I just stopped caring about it because it was all just like, I'm doing a time jump, I'm doing a this, I'm doing a that, and it all felt so random and just like a very typical kind of super punch, but just filled with time words. That was my take.
And I'm with you because I read it with like the thing stuff was far more interesting to me, and so I get like half a page of thing stuff, and then this Doom stuff didn't seem like it was going anywhere, and I'm like, maybe I should have gone back and just read all the Doom read columns just straight and not worried about the thing stuff.
And that's what I would recommend, especially once you like are familiar with what happens, then you can kind of figure out how to read it. There's also
but should I be reading like going like, okay, where's the thing after 1233 that's on page 14? Should I be going to like the 12? I don't think that's that nuanced.
Well, no, yeah, that's explaining like what that is, why there's a timestamp on it, why Reed is like looking all determined on the cover. But yeah, I don't think that directly ties into anything after that because that's just in the middle of one of the pages. But yeah, I just think it's a cool. It's a gimmick. There's also and I don't think because again we're reading this digitally, the physical copies, the letters page had an upside down like explanation or flowchart thing that was like, here's how to read this.
Oh, okay.
So they did want to explain. It's not like it was the total mystery, but it was just in the letters page, which Marvel Unlimited doesn't include. So yeah, if you have like the old scans, you can read that. And again, if you read it up, it just tells you exactly. It's like at the end of the page, they zap to the time they go to. So you flip it to that page. It's pretty straightforward. But yeah, and then like, and people will give you funny looks because you're reading this comic upside down.
And to clarify, old scans is what Chris calls his long boxes. Those are that's all we're talking about here.
Yes. Legally own these comics.
Yes. So Ben, throughout all this fight, Ben kind of is like, all right, well, there's nothing for me to do here. They fled off to a time fight. I'm gonna go walking around, looking. Sharon's unconscious. I'll leave her there. Oh wait, did I mention the part where Sharon wakes up and attacks Ben in the middle of that fight in the last issue? I don't think we mentioned that.
No.
Dr. Doom did do some kind of a brainwashing thing on Sharon or something like that. And she gets up and attacks Ben. We don't really get the fallout of that in that issue or really at the beginning of this because she's passed out again. And he walks around, he finds Sue and Johnny, and then we see the Time Variance Authority. Ooh, out doing their thing. Friends of the show, I think they were in a She-Hulk comic recently, and I think
they're on Loki.
Yeah, that's him.
Because they're led by Owen Wilson. Oh wow.
Or is that him in this comic?
I don't think he's in this one. I don't think he's got a pencil thin mustache. He's Mobius. I don't think he was named. In this comic, but Loki season 2 is like next month, I want to say.
Wow.
So
season 2.
The Time Variance Authority has noticed a disturbance. There's some time jumps happening in a restricted area, so they're gonna have to come take care of this. It's very serious. Meanwhile, Ben, Sue, and Johnny head back to Sharon. She's woken up now, and she's so shocked to see the Thing. She's like, "But I thought I'm the Thing." So they have this plan. Thing puts on her like unitard over his body so that she sees it and was like, "Oh, that's the Thing. That's me." And then Sue makes it disappear as a way to help her like break through and realize it's done. It's fine, I guess. It's kind of cruel if her human form doesn't hold, but it's pretty good. Um, then at the very end of Doom and Reed's time fight, it ends when Doom forgot that Reed has stretchy powers, and he uses his stretchiness to get the upper hand on him. Hooray.
I love it too, because we never think of Reed as much of a fighter, but Doom's like, well, I'm bigger and stronger. I'll defeat you. And he's like, well, I also have like superpowers, dude.
So Doom, the Time Variance Authority shows up, and Doom's like, get these jokers out of here. He just blasts their robots, and they die. But then Justice Peace from the Time Variance Authority shows up, and he blasts Dr. Doom to death. Kills him. Oh my goodness. What?
Yeah, Dr. Doom basically suicide by time cops himself.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I don't submit to your authority, Time Variance Authority.
Oh, that's right. Yes. He's, yeah. And Reed's like, hey, why'd y'all show up now? Couldn't you have just shown up earlier in the timeline and arrested him before he broke the law? And they're like, yeah, but then he wouldn't have been guilty.
Yep, true.
Makes sense. And then, so they have to go to the time zone and testify or whatever to whatever happened here. And then in our little post-credit scene, we find out it was not Doom. He swapped with Kristoff during the time fight, and Kristoff is the one who has died. Okay.
He'll be back.
Great. He'll be back.
I do like Doom's slight redesign too. This is like he's got like a gold sort of like style instead of just regular green and silver.
There's gold where? Maybe I didn't see any gold.
Yeah, his like armor is like he's like a gold powered instead of just his regular silver.
This digital version just looks plain silver. Well, maybe I got to check my monitor. Maybe there's gold color in it.
Yeah, check your long boxes.
Check my long boxes for color hue modifications here. But yeah, that's that story here. Well, it's a fun story. I always like reading Walt Simonson stuff, and his art is always just like it's laid out so well. Even the fight sequences and stuff, always fun to read. Vince, what do you got to say?
I like it. I didn't love it, but the art is good. I like time travel. I'm getting like to this point where I just like dipping in onto these like weird eras and ignored eras in my head at least of these teams. Like it was fun doing the Korvac saga and just hanging out with the Avengers for 6 or 7 months in the 70s. Like this feels much like I don't think about like early 90s Fantastic Four. I think about like the first 10 years, and I think about like the Mark Waid run, and then everything else is kind of a blur to me. So it was and then like how they contribute to like when I was reading Marvel comics like in the more modern era, like 2004 to beyond. So it's fun to see like, oh, this is how they were. There was this Sharon character that's weird. Dr. Doom's got a fun stuff. I enjoy just like kind of like being in that era and seeing like how they're using their powers. It's not like 90s extreme comics at that point. It's just it's fun and it's pleasant, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. I do want to check out like more that's going on, and like when we were reading the stuff we weren't supposed to read, like the 349, I'm like, oh, that's a fun, clever concept, the new Fantastic Four, and just fucking with the idea of modern comics. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the jokes that it's the world's most whatever magazine changes every issue is really funny to me too.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, your final thoughts? This was your recommendation here.
This is maybe, Walt Simonson's run as a whole, it might be my favorite Fantastic Four, although Jonathan Hickman's is really good. Jonathan Hickman's might be my number one now. But yeah, I reread all of this. God, it's been probably like 10 or 15 years now. But I was like shocked how good I all of Simonson's run. I was like, this is so good, especially because the end of Byrne's run. Byrne, I like his Fantastic Four in general. I like that he introduced She-Hulk to the team, and there's some other good things he did. But he is also John Byrne. He's very much like lives in the Silver Age. Characters are very much like he likes them. And so it was very cool to have like things move forward, and Simonson's was a good sort of halfway of like moving forward and moving backward, where he like this arc is very clearly setting up that he thinks that the Alicia Masters marriage is stupid, which it is. But I think 10 issues after this, we find out that Alicia Masters is actually a Skrull sent to seduce Johnny.
God, what?
What?
So that's I think Tom DeFalco is actually writing the book by that point. But yeah, it's a very fun issue. I love his art too. His art is just so unique. Nobody draws like him really. I mean, maybe like you can see a little bit of like how Mike Mignola and some other sort of indie comics artists were influenced by him, but he's so different from like the Marvel style that everything is so scratchy and sort of weird looking, which it doesn't do like Sue and Ms. Thing any favors. But I think it looks so interesting. And again, he's so good at like layouts and everything. That is my number one gripe with current comics is that because everything is scripted, the artist just draws like boring shit page after page after page and nothing happens.
Yes. Well, that's our dip into the Fantastic Four here for the early 90s. But I think it is time for us to jump over to Knightfall. We are at the very end of part 1 of Knightfall, which is the Broken Bat saga. We're not going to go into part 2 where, things are like the rebuilding phase and everything like that. So this is the last issue we are doing of Knightfall. It is in Batman number 500. Which had me kind of thinking, like, did Batman number 1 come out at the same time as Detective Comics 166? And did they do that on purpose so they would line up with Detective Comics 666 and Batman 500?
No.
But
there's not 160 issues in between them before they launched the second Batman book.
I'll tell you, I looked it up.
No,
Batman number 1 was in 1940. Detective Comics 166 was in 1950.
Yeah,
right.
10 years.
They must have been double shipping.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Detective Comics famously in the 70s, Detective Comics, I think, was bi-monthly. And there was Batman, Bat Family, and Detective Comics. And DC was like, well, we're going to cancel Detective Comics. It's selling the lowest, and it's bi-monthly. And somebody who had been there for a long time was like, are you kidding? Like, we're DC Comics. Like, this is like the longest running book we have. We can't just make Bat Family Detective Comics and cancel that. And so they did. So yeah, for a long time, Batman was like the number 1 book, and Bat Family was the number 2, and Detective Comics was number 30.
Wow. For Detective Comics.
And I think like in the modern day, or definitely during the Rebirth era, like a lot of these books were coming out like twice a month. I think I want to say Batman and Detective were coming out like twice a month. That's why Nightwing was like issue 70 something after being relaunched like in 2016. They were double shipping everything.
Yeah. They're like, all right, well, we're going to sell, at least 18 or 20 issues of Batman and then another 15 of Detective Comics or whatever it is. Like, it's out of control.
Yes. But anyways, hot off the heels of Detective Comics 666, we are jumping into Batman 500. It picks up right where we left off. It's a big double-size issue. We've got the fight happening between Jean-Paul Valley, Batman, and Bane. Jean-Paul is hanging from the scaffolding. Bane is holding him there by a rope, and he cuts the rope. And Jean-Paul is falling, and he's got to do, kind of some fancy maneuvers here to push himself off of a wall. His cape almost gets in the way, and he's like, fuck this cape. And he lands in a fountain, and people are like, oh, my God, that water wasn't deep enough to break his fall. But he's okay. And it's like a crowded mall that they're at. Bane runs. Jean-Paul is too hurt to pursue, so he's like, But the star of this scene is the security guard with his bugged out eyes. That's my panel of the week. This guy who's just like, what? And then like a couple panels later, he's still got those stupid eyes going on. I was like, oh. And after everyone else leaves, he's like, I never knew he had claws. Good stuff. We see Tim Drake. He's sitting at home, sad, alone. He's got no Batman. His dad's gone. He calls a girl, Ariana, who's so happy to hear from him. He's like, oh, my God, Tim, I haven't heard from you forever. Can we see each other soon? He's like, I can't. I'm busy. She's like, then why'd you call? He's like, I don't know. I miss you. I guess I'm just lonely.
That was some bullshit. I hate that fucking shit. Why'd you call me? You called. He called her. And then she's like, why'd you call? And he's like, mopey.
But his reasoning is also, I'm lonely, Now I have you on the phone. Okay, bye. Like, come on, man.
He got
Poor
everything he
Tim.
needed.
Yeah, I guess so. He got communication from someone, and that's it. Great. Nice work, Tim.
His father got kidnapped, by the way.
I mean, sure. She doesn't know that. She's just
Yeah.
she's just hoping for a date. Poor thing.
Yep.
Poor thing. Meanwhile, we've got Lieutenant Kitch, who's been kind of in the background of this comic every now and then. He meets Bullock at a crime scene. Oh, this is Bane's home, Bane's little apartment here. Batman has roughed him up. He's talking to Bullock about Batman's rough methods, and they're like, all right, well, we got these 3 thugs rounded up. Bane's 3 henchmen. They go lock them up. Back at the Batcave, Robin meets up with Jean Paul, who's training himself again because he's kind of banged up. He has another kind of big talk similar to what we've seen the last few issues, where he's like, hey, man, your methods are too violent. You got to be like a source of light. And Jean Paul's like, nah, man, I got to get on the criminals' level here. We got to be just as bad as them.
You know, Batman fucked up and lost, right?
Yeah. And Robin.
The book wants you to think that John Paul is wrong, but at the same time, you're like, well, maybe.
Maybe.
Joker has killed like 1 million people.
Yeah.
I do. I will always say, like, I love comics that like Punisher just kills everybody. It's very satisfying. It's also fictional and makes sense, but it's very satisfying. Like, I'm on board. Like, this makes sense to me in a fictional setting.
Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, and it's the same thing. Why doesn't Batman just kill the Joker? It's like, because the Joker's his best villain. He'd come back in a year. Like, that's how it works.
That's how it works. So anyways, Robin is like, you know what, Jean Paul, you can count me out. Jean Paul says, I already have. Oh my goodness. Cold.
Yeah.
And then Jean Paul starts getting ideas for a new costume design because the cape almost screwed him up earlier. Meanwhile, Kitch.
He's like, these gloves aren't stupid enough. I have to get stupider.
Way stupider. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kitch is talking to the mayor, who says, the mayor's like, hey, Batman saved my life. Like, his renegade methods, I love them. I don't want to get rid of them. And Kitch is like, what? You want to like change the whole police force to be like renegades and play by the criminals rules? And he's like, no. You keep going playing by the book.
Batman.
Just let Batman be a renegade. Don't mess with him, okay?
I mean,
right.
he again, he's not wrong. He's like, look, we got Batman. He gets results. Do I have to pay him? No. Do I get any blowback if he fucks up? Also, no. Do I still get results? Yes. This is a win-win-win for Mayor Nick Kroll.
But Lieutenant Kish is a little, still a little upset about it here. Meanwhile, Gordon is talking to his girl Sharon. He's like, Batman's changed. Seems different. Jean Paul puts his new costume together. We still haven't seen it, but he takes out the video cameras in the Batcave for privacy.
From who? Also, from Kidnapped Alfred?
I don't know.
Harold,
he kidnapped Harold. Guy. I don't know. But there's also a dog hanging around in the Batcave who we have not seen at all in Knightfall chapters 1 through 18. Have we? We haven't seen this dog.
It's not Ace the Bat Dog. It's not Ace played by Kevin Hart.
I think it is.
Is it supposed to be Ace?
Played by Kevin Hart.
Okay.
He's just hanging out. Bane then visits his goons in jail to find out where the rest of his venom is. And they tell him, and they're like, wait, aren't you going to bust us out? And he's like, no, this is my fight.
That's such a dick move, Bane. Remember who got you here. Although he is mad about them breaking out of prison and thanking him.
That's stupid point.
Still, that was last issue.
Yeah, he's still
Let it go, Bane.
I'm just like, let's get out of here. B, I gotta sign it, and I can't lie to them and say it was Bane. I can mislead them, but B stands for Batman. They're just too dumb.
They don't know. So Robin meets up with Nightwing, and they talk about how it's not Bruce being Batman right now, and Dick's like, yeah, he didn't ask me to take the mantle, and neither of them is particularly happy with this decision.
I'm glad they at least said that. Because when I read about this, I'm like, who the fuck is this John Bell Valley guy? Why is Dick Grayson not on tap like he was like in the Morrison run when Batman died then, I think. So I'm glad that they at least say like, Batman's kind of mad at me. And I'm like, all right, that's fine then. All right, cool.
He's busy with the Titans.
We do get more information about Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley, in this issue right here. I feel like it could have come in at the beginning of Nightfall, so we knew more about him, but I'm glad it's here somewhere. But it's a nice flashback about who he is and what's going on with him. We also get what seems like a little bit of a retcon, but maybe there's some history there, where Robin says, "Oh, I designed Azrael's original costume, and I realized I made it too similar to a recent bad guy that Batman had fought, just minus the spikes and chains and stuff." And
Was Azrael the bad guy that had that costume?
No.
That's how okay, it's a different guy. Okay.
different guy. And Robin's like, "I designed his costume like that, but maybe that was in the back of my head, and maybe that put some ideas in Bruce's head or something." And he's blaming himself. And I wonder if there was like some kind of fan response of like, "Why are these two costumes so similar?" And this was their attempt to explain it away or something.
Again, because I did not learn anything in our last 19 issues of this about Jean-Paul Valley. I thought maybe he was a bad guy in the past. That was my reading of that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did Joe Quesada design this new costume? Did I remember that correctly?
I think that sounds right.
I want to say Joe Quesada was involved in this. Some Marvel editor-in-chief during a lot of eras. He did the Kevin Smith art for Batman or for Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, Bane finds his stash of venom. He loads up. He's super jacked up now. Then we see Bruce and Alfred, their only appearance in this issue. They are in Santa Prisca looking to save kidnapped Dr. Chandra and Tim's dad, whatever his name is. Then Bane. God. So Bane goes to some guy who's running an advertising sign. I've never seen one exactly like this, where it's just like a big digital sign. You can type in anything you want and it shows up on the screen. So the ad, as it stands, is like, "Put your ad up here, call the number." We see the guy sitting at his desk, and Bane shows up and just straight up chokes him to death instantly. And he types in to the sign, "Batman now," but Batman is in quotes because it's not the real Batman. Then Robin finds the plan for the new costume, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And we finally see it at the beginning of part 2 of this issue, with Azrael flying through the sky, looking super fucking 90s here. He's got like gold plating all over, weird little pouches and everything. He's still got those claws. He's still got a cape too. It's maybe a little bit of a different cape, but I thought it was going to get rid of the cape.
Yeah, considering his beef with the cape, I really thought that he was done with that.
Yeah, he looks like a Batman Power Ranger kind of. But we get a few pages of him just kind of flying through the sky. A lot of like very poetic kind of writing about like the dark heart, blah blah blah, and all that kind of typical Batman stuff. And he gets to that sign there. And he's standing there waiting. All the cops are on the street looking up at this sign. And Batman's standing there waiting for Bane. Bane jumps through the sign, breaks it, and attacks. One of the snipers on the ground asks if they should take the shot at Bane. And Kitsch is like, no. We got to go by the book. He hasn't done anything to authorize lethal force, so don't interfere. But he's almost being a little bit like shitty about it, too. Like they could just save Batman and save the day right now. They're like, no, we got to play it by the book. So Gordon shows up then, like the whole sign's broken, and Bullock is like, "Oh yeah, it said Batman now." Gordon's like, "Oh, were there quotes up there around Batman?" He can kind of tell. Bullock's like, "I don't remember." And then he sees Batman, and he's like, "Wait a minute, what happened to that guy's costume?" And then Bane and Batman are talking about like, "Oh, you're not the real Batman anymore." And Gordon's trying to listen, and he's like, "Hey, what did they just say? What are they talking about?" I really like that touch of Gordon trying to listen in on their fight. I think that's my favorite little touch in this book. Then we get a nice long fight scene. Bane's mask gets ripped a bit. Eventually, they move the fight onto a train car when Bane kind of tries running into there. And it's going too fast. Bane's like, pushes the train to kick into full gear. It's like on an elevated track that's just going in a square around the city. And the cops are like, "Oh, it's getting to like the 90-degree turn. It's going too fast for that. It's going to fly off." So Robin uses a little explosion to break off the first car of the train. So it's just Batman and Bane going off like crazy. The train car goes off the rails, crashes into a building, and Bane is fucked up. Batman has him ready for the killing blow. Everyone's watching what's going to happen.
And
Batman.
Gordon is like, Batman would never kill him unless that's not Batman.
Yeah. But Batman doesn't kill him. He leaves the body for the cops, says he's broken enough. Everyone's proud of him. Gordon's like, I guess that is the real Batman. And afterwards, Robin is like, hey, I guess you have earned the mantle. Cool. The end of part 1 of Nightfall. Part 2 is Night Quest. Like I said, we're not going to do all that. We've spent enough time with Nightfall here. But that's part 1. Let's go over to Vince. Vince, what'd you think?
Well, this issue was fine. I'm glad that Azrael is like kind of like still showing that he's like, or Jean-Paul Valley, I guess, is showing that he's like an effective Batman. It's an interesting status quo. I'm way more interested in whatever happened to Bruce Wayne. That's what I want to know about. It's a very poochification thing. It's like, I'm always wondering, where's Bruce Wayne? What's he doing? I like what happened to Bruce Wayne's character, that he was taken down a notch. I don't care about Batman adventures. So, like, in that way, I think like this final issue kind of like changed a lot of the stuff I liked. Like, I think like this whole Nightfall started off really good with like the introduction of Bane is like a really smart villain with like a really tragic back history, and his crew, Bird, Bird to match with Robin because Robin's a bird.
Bird,
right.
Bird.
Like, and then he just abandoned his whole crew for like nothing. Like, they didn't even like fail him, or like he needed to do like, there was no like character moment that said like,
I mean, they got caught twice.
yeah, Joker's henchmen get caught all the time. It's fine.
Yeah, and he doesn't help them.
That's true too. I don't feel like, I feel like the Bane I saw 19 issues ago is not the Bane for this, and I was kind of disappointed by that. Like, I although I don't know where you really go with it from there. I'm glad we read it. I think the Two-Face issues were kind of like pointless. I really like seeing what happened with Bruce Wayne and with Tim Drake, and I think putting them as like your moral center, Tim Drake especially, I think is a smart way to frame this story. I do not care at all about John Valley being like a shitty Batman. I don't care at all. Like, you could delete all those pages and I would be fine.
Yeah. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had been reading for the first time because I was doing just a straight read from, I forget when I even started. I think it was the 80s, but all the way Batman and Detective Comics through Nightfall, and I would say that the books get a little worse overall around this time. But that's mostly just because there's more sort of continuity and like less like explaining what the hell is going on. We talked about some of the stuff that you're just expected to know, Harold and the dog and all this stuff where you're like, who is this? Like, what? When was this established? Where it's been like 30 issues earlier or whatever it's been. So it's starting to get into that sort of bad sort of Marvelification, because again, like Batman didn't get the same reset that Superman and Wonder Woman got. They basically just sort of retconned a bunch of stuff and were like, oh yeah, like Batman's only been going for like 7 years or however long they said he's been going. Here's year 1, here's year 2. And so it's not, it's only a continuity that's existed for like 7 years.
Yeah.
I generally agree with all that. I will add that I was incredibly disappointed almost that Jean Paul did defeat Bane. I wanted him to fail. He was such a shitty Batman. I wanted him to die and for Bane to take over the city and just be like, okay, that's it for right now. And it's time for Batman to rebuild. And, I know that probably would have changed a lot of things coming up. But I really wanted to see Jean Paul fail. That's what I was like. All right, he's a shitty Batman.
He's got such a punchable face. I don't want that. That's a weird thing for like as an audience. And we're not the target audience for this. Just to be like, I hate my protagonist and I want him to lose is probably not the thing you wanted.
He's not the protagonist. Like, I know he's technically Batman now, but he's still not your protagonist. You know what I mean?
That's
it's
true. Like, because
you
your moral
can't just
compass
switch
is
over
Tim
to
in
him.
this book. Like, that's
I do like if they wanted him to be punchable. I do like that. Bruce, classically is sort of dark and brooding. They made him look like Captain America.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's more like the U.S. agent, Captain America, though.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Which
but
one
he
is that?
looks,
Kurt Russell's kid, Wyatt Russell.
Yes, John Walker.
There we go.
But yeah, I'm glad we read it. That's enough now. We definitely don't need to read more of Jean Paul as Batman for right now. Maybe one day we'll return to Knightfall, but I doubt it. We're on to some different stuff
for the Night Quest.
No, I feel like Hush is our next long read if we did Batman, but we're not doing that right now.
So on to what we are doing next time here.
No Man's Land.
Done with Batman for a little while. We are getting back to some Swamp Thing. It's been a while. It's been about a year since we read some Swamp Thing. But we are doing Alan Moore's run. We've been going through it little by little. And we are on to book 4 now for Saga of the Swamp Thing. Book 4, it covers issues 43 through 50. That is 8 issues of Alan Moore writing. It's a little bit dense, but we do have to also...
It's a big crescendo with John Constantine.
Okay.
And he wrote it at the same time that Watchmen was coming out.
Very nice.
Oh, so that'll be a big one.
So we're doing that, and then so like I said, 8 kind of dense issues here. So for our next long read, something we've been wanting to do for a little while, it's Earth X, a Marvel comic that kind of takes a look into an alternate far future of the Marvel universe, where I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's definitely kind of revised versions of everybody in the future there. And it starts with Earth X number 0, which I believe is a shorter version. If you heard my voice jump a little bit, a bug landed on my arm, and I kind of had to smack it a little bit. That's what happened
pages, but okay.
It's what?
Uh-oh.
Earth X 0 is 42 pages?
They're like 3 lines a page, though.
Yeah, it's a lot of artwork, and like, this is this person in the future. Nice to meet them. And this is this person in the future. A lot of that. So hopefully...
It's not Alan Moore density, okay.
It's not Alan Moore density. So hopefully a pretty quick read. Why did I remember it being a shorter issue? Maybe I'm thinking of Marvel's
issue 0 was like
number
12-cent adventure. It's like 12 pages and shit.
Yeah.
It appeared in like the back of Wizard magazine.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're jumping into a couple of different things next time, but we're looking forward to it. What else do we got going on, Chris? How is the Your Stupid Minds podcast going?
It's going great. We just recently put out an episode about the Meg, giant shark movie from 6 years ago.
Based off a book.
Was it that long ago? Shit, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, predates Nick having children. His wife was very pregnant. I believe your wife was also pregnant when
that was 5 years ago. I think it was 2018. I remember being disappointed because all I wanted to see was Jason Statham kick a shark in the face, and then he didn't.
I don't think he does. But yeah, the Meg 2 came out. No one saw it, including me.
That one did have on the cover Jason Statham kicking a shark in the face, though.
Oh, they heard you.
They heard me. They got my one note.
Yeah. So we covered the Meg, and I think we haven't recorded it yet, so card subject to change. But I think we're going to be doing a Neil Breen movie for our next episode.
Does he have a new movie then?
Yes, he has a new movie that's out in theaters only called Cade: The Tortured Crossing or something like that. It's a sequel to, or at least a spiritual sequel to his last movie about 2 twins who are given artificial intelligence, Cade and Kale, and we get to find out all about their adventures. Both played by Neil Breen, one with a beard, one without a beard.
I don't know much about Neil Breen, but he's like a big, like, terrible filmmaker, like the disaster artist kind of level guy. Because I think your 100th episode was a Neil Breen movie, right? One of your anniversary episodes.
Yes, we've done at least one anniversary. He's done, I think this is either his 5th or his 6th film, and he's amazing in that every film is he finds new technologies and new ways to be really bad. So unlike Tommy Wiseau, where it sort of becomes a joke and he becomes part of it, like he writes all the dialogue, he stars in it, he is the cinematographer and editor, and it is his singular insane vision every time.
Double down. That was your episode.
Hey, if it's in theaters only, it has to be good, though.
Yeah, right. They don't put in just any movie in theaters. Not today.
Not these days. Vince, what's going on with you?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm just playing Picross and getting ready for... I bought a PS5. I don't know if I said that last time, just for Spider-Man 2, which comes out like in another month or so.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. I've been in a board game mood more than a video game mood recently, and I've been doing some board games.
I did
got that Marvel United game.
I bought that for dirt cheap. It was like I bought like 2 sets of it, like in this expansion for like $17. It's cheap.
Yeah,
it's not expensive at all.
Nice little family-friendly, cooperative superhero game. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty
Chris,
good.
it reminded me of that spaceship game that you brought over that one time. That was really good.
The Captain is Dead.
Yeah, it was kind of like that.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's a cool Marvel game.
But make sure to limit the number of expansions you buy. They've got like hundreds of, maybe not hundreds, maybe,
I got
about 100 here.
I got the Spider-Man's one because my kids like Spider-Gwen and Miles. So
there you go. Perfect.
That's all I got.
Perfect. I might paint my figures. It's been a long time.
What? Shit, that's
been a long time. But that's all that we've got going on right now. I think that's it for the show. Vince, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, I love you.
I love unauthorized time use detected.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's too bad. They're gonna come.
Look, I got to deal with this, guys. I'll be back in a second. I told you guys, I time traveled to the future to get stuff I needed in the past.
That doesn't even make any sense. But I hope he deals with that okay. I hope he's there for the next show, or is it the previous show? I don't know. I don't know how
if he fucking tries to cover Spider-Gwen or whatever we did last time, it's gonna be.
It was Nightwing last time.
Nightwing, yeah.
For the next issue, yeah. But I think that's it for the show. Listener, we love you as well. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.